Hey folks, Post here. Welcome back to another Pokemon Masters video, and today we're gonna, go over Solgaleo a bit more, dive a bit deeper into this unit because yesterday we did a showcase video of a maxed out Solgaleo, and it was pretty crazy, right? It did what 11k something on against a Houndoom, albeit a lower, it's not. It was just like a heart or something Houndoom, but still a lot of damage. But I thought we'd also be fair and go over some of its, I guess, downsides as well, since Solgaleo is a really interesting unit. It has a lot of dimensions to it. So, anyways, let's just go over why it's so insanely good first, as I just grab some stuff before from the mission. So, there are some reasons why Solgaleo is good. So, if you check out Solgaleo, Sunseal Strike is a great move, right? It ignores passives that would reduce the damage of this attack, ignores passives that would protect this target against critical hits. Opponents cannot endure this attack, and 120 damage at max, by the way. We're talking about a max Solgaleo right now, not just a regular Solgaleo. 100% accuracy, steel type, physical move, great. Focus blast, 170 damage. Albeit only 7% accuracy, but you could, that doesn't matter since you have Bread as a Sun, which drastically raises users' attack, special attack, and accuracy. And also passive with Impervious, stats can be lowered, and that's why Solgaleo is great. And also Solgaleo has really, really good stats. But these stats are potentially problematic. So for those of you who don't know, the way how targeting works in this game in single player is your opponent always targets your Pokemon, the Pokemon on your side with the highest bulk. That's, again, I really need to memorize the formula, but it's calculated based on mainly your defensive stats. So both your defense, special defense, and HP, and then the highest bulk on your team gets targeted. So your opponent will always aggro onto your highest bulk in single player. In co-op, it's a completely different situation, but at least in single player, that's the case, and that actually does raise a few issues. So let's go in here and let's demonstrate why that the bulk is actually an issue for Solgaleo. So let's throw in some supports for Solgaleo. Let's say we support it with, let's go with, say, Oshawott and let's say Oshawott and Rose Santa. Let's actually not use Oshawott. Let's use someone else. Is there anyone? I guess it doesn't really matter. Oshawott or Nose. We could use Oshawott, I guess. So Oshawott and Rose Santa, all supports with really, really high bulk, and supports in this game are supposed to have really, really high bulk. So most supports, 90% of the supports in this game also double as a tank. So not only do they usually either raise stats for your team or, recover HP or whatever, do support stuff, they're also your main tank for this game. So supports always, not always, but 90% of the time double as a tank in single player. But here's where the problem occurs. So let's go into this battle, and let's see what happens. All right, let's take off auto. Let's not actually attack or anything. Look what the opponent does here. It attacks Solgaleo. It's attacking Solgaleo, and that's an issue because Solgaleo is a DPS. You mainly want to draw aggro away from the DPS so your DPS doesn't get hurt, so it stays alive, and that your supports are the ones who tank, because supports generally, first of all, have really tanky stats, and also you don't, once you already use your support moves, their value diminishes a lot. I'm not going to say they're useless after that, because that's not true, but their value does diminish a lot, because obviously they still provide speed, they still tank hits and all that, but once a support finishes buffing, it's just there to tank hits and then speed, right? So generally that's why people don't really have too many problems with supports dying, because you kind of want them to you want them to die instead of your DPS, because once, if the opponent takes out your DPS first, you're left with two supports, because in the meta team comp right now is two supports and generally two supports, sometimes a tech, depending on what you're running. Maybe like Garchomp, you could throw in a tech unit like Ace Roll in there, but generally you want two supports plus a DPS, right? And if the case is Solgaleo gets targeted and they take out your DPS first, then you got two supports. You're not going to do any damage. You're not going to, beat the event, right? And the reason why Solgaleo is targeted is not because Solgaleo has more natural bulk than Rosa or Hilbert. Also, Hilbert's level 100. But, even if it's level 120, it doesn't matter, right? The reason that Solgaleo is targeted is because of the free potential boosts that Solgaleo gets from this event. So on one hand, the free potential tickets to get him to 20 out of 20 is a massive buff to Solgaleo. Solgaleo hits harder. Solgaleo takes more hits, right? But on the other hand, Solgaleo gets a lot of aggro for what it does now. So I think, if I remember correctly, if you put in 20 potential boosts into Solgaleo and then obviously no potential boosts for your supports, and it really isn't that great to throw potential boosts on your supports because you generally want to use potential boosts mostly on strikers. There are some exceptions for supports, right? But you mostly want to use them on strikers. So generally you won't have too many potential boosts on your supports. So without potential, Solgaleo, or with potential, Solgaleo is the number 3 or number 4 bulkiest sync pair in the game. And obviously that means all the other supports, they're not potential boosted, but again, you're generally not going to spend potential boosts on supports, right? So now that Solgaleo is the third most tankiest, or I guess bulkiest unit in the game, in order to not get aggroed or not draw enemy attacks to Solgaleo, you kind of have to run one of the top 2 highest bulk sync pairs in the game, being Rosa and Phoebe. And they don't work if they're level 100. They have to be at level 120, right? And so you'll have to either run Rosa or Phoebe in this scenario. So let's run Phoebe, and we'll show really quick that Phoebe would in this case draw aggro away from Solgaleo, despite Solgaleo being 20 out of 20, right? Also, let's try to beat this as well, so I could get some level up manuals, which is pretty cool. Anyways, you see, Phoebe they're all facing our boy, or I don't think it has gender, our Dusclops over here. Well, it just used an AoE attack, but Ice Beam, watch the Ice Beam. Watch Ice Beam, boom, it hits Dusclops instead of Solgaleo. Obviously, AoE attacks are going to hit everyone, but, we're talking about single target hits, right? And, yeah, Dusclops can draw aggro, Rosa can draw aggro. I think those are the only ones, if I remember correctly, for supports that are more bulkier than Solgaleo after Solgaleo's potential ticket boosted. This isn't that big of an issue since, fortunately for Solgaleo, both Rosa and Phoebe are decent supports for Solgaleo. So you probably want to run Solgaleo with Phoebe like every time anyways if you have Phoebe. If you don't, then you can run Rosa. Although Rosa, not as good as a sync as a partner in comparison to Phoebe. Obviously, Rosa does not give Dire Hit Plus, which is the one thing that Solgaleo is missing from his set, right? Well, not one thing, but one of the most important or more important things that's missing from Solgaleo's set. And Rosa does provide Solgaleo with X special attack. I guess if you just want to go with a Focus Blast set and you're fine with not getting that last +2, or if you got like someone else to give +2 on special attack, you could use Rosa, right? And you're not worried about crits. And also Rosa can fill move gauge, so that helps Solgaleo as well in that aspect. But again, overall, this is an issue. So you can't really just run Solgaleo with, say, I don't know, what are other 2 supports? Say Nosepass and Hilbert. That's a terrible duo. Like Nosepass or and Meganium or something, right? Although I'm not sure if Meganium might be bulkier. Not 100% sure on that. I'm pretty sure she's not as bulky. But anyways, again, that is basically the issue at hand. Albeit not the biggest issue, because Solgaleo, again, you generally want to run Solgaleo with Dusclops anyways. So yeah, that's one downside to Solgaleo that say Mewtwo doesn't have, because Mewtwo also you could buff Mewtwo up to 20 out of 20 for free, right? And Mewtwo does not generally have that issue, unfortunately for Solgaleo. So that's one aspect of Solgaleo's game that I guess is kind of overlooked, that is slightly problematic. The other thing I did want to talk about is, again, a lot of people are saying Solgaleo's insane, Solgaleo's like top tier striker, Solgaleo's better than Olivia. Okay, guys, hold your horses. Solgaleo is good, no question about that. We've demonstrated this over and over again. But Solgaleo, I think, does, again, that's one of the shortcomings that we just demonstrated, and there's another pretty glaring shortcoming, I think, for Solgaleo, as we'll see in co-op. So let's find some random co-op, I guess. Let's do Brock, because why not? I think Brock's the only one that we've been doing recently. Let's connect with randos, and let's go with Solgaleo. And again, this is not a video just to bash Solgaleo. I still think Solgaleo is really, really good. It's a really solid unit. It's free, so like, again, I'm pro free stuff. You give us good free units, I'll take them, right? Again, Solgaleo is really, really good. But the other issue with Solgaleo is in co-op, he's not. I really don't think Solgaleo is that great in co-op, unfortunately. It might take. There could be an argument to say, oh, if you run it with Phoebe and then you just wait for like 10 turns or whatever, it's fine. But look, here's the big issue with Solgaleo. To buff Solgaleo, you need to eat move gauges, and that's 6 move gauges to get max buff. And again, with how they changed co-op recently, how they sped everything up for co-op except for the move gauge, that just makes it's taking forever to refill its move gauge. It doesn't have any speed buff, so it doesn't help it in that aspect. It doesn't have any move gauge buffs. And look, it's taking forever to fill up. If you want to get that +6, obviously you don't have to get that +6, but that's influencing your damage greatly. And the other thing about Solgaleo is, unfortunately, Solgaleo does not have crit. And still, look, this guy does a lot of damage, even without crit. But crit is insanely useful in this game, just because of how it deals with shields and defense, or defensive buffs on the opponent, right? It ignores that. Like, that's huge. That's why crit is insanely useful in comparison to just buffing your attack or special attack, right? And again, this is a really, really, really good move, but in co-op, it's problematic. But to Solgaleo's credit, there are some good things that are going on for Solgaleo. Number one is its bulk, actually, which was a more problematic thing for Solgaleo in single player, but it actually is a positive for Solgaleo in multiplayer, because in co-op, aggro works very differently. So let's see if we get killed by the sick move, by the way, before we keep on talking, just so I know if we're exiting out of this. But yeah, again, bulk is much better in co-op, just because you could tank a sync move. You're just tanking hits, so you just don't die as easily, right? There's not that many downsides to having good bulk here. And also, since you do have impervious, which is huge as well, so even if you do just keep on taking hits, and you can take a lot of hits with Solgaleo. Solgaleo is one of the probably the most tankiest striker, right, in this game. So you could take a lot of hits. We're comparing max potential Solgaleo to unboosted other strikers, right? So again, that's still a huge positive going for Solgaleo, but again, the downsides to Solgaleo are pretty glaring. Both of these are 3-bar moves. You do have Metal Claw, which I guess you could spam, but the damage just isn't there. If you're really just relying on it like full, just spamming for Unity, then I guess sure, right? And generally, if you want to do that, most 2-bar moves are just better, unfortunately. So there's that as well. Again, Solgaleo, I think it's a fantastic unit. Just these certain downsides, being the bulk in single player, bulk issue in single player, and Solgaleo's viability in co-op. If you compare it to Lycanroc, Mewtwo, Sceptile, Solgaleo is just not as usable as those characters in co-op. Obviously, if you're fighting a co-op that's weak to fighting or steel, you definitely want to bring Solgaleo. But unlike Lycanroc or Brendan or Mewtwo, you can't really bring Solgaleo into something. I mean, I guess you can, but it's just harder to bring Solgaleo into an event where you're not super effective against the opponents, and expect to do good without supports. With supports, that would help Solgaleo a lot. Solgaleo would really need supports, but again, if you're doing co-op with randos, very, very hard to coordinate that, obviously, right? With supports, Solgaleo won't do as well. Like, Solgaleo, I would say, is very comparable to Lance and Dragonite. Lance and Dragonite, if you get the right supports, if you get, like, someone running a Rosanta, running Phoebe, running, I don't know, Hilbert. I think Hilbert's pretty good. A lot of people trash on Hilbert, but, I think, Hilbert's pretty good in this case. But, if you're Dragonite, if people are running those, Torchic, right? Dragonite will, like, 2 Dragonites will destroy your opponent, right? But if you're not running supports and just 3 Dragonites, that's a very problematic team comp, right? You're very, very vulnerable to dying, unfortunately, and also not outputting enough damage, not getting unity, like a bunch of issues, right? So I think Solgaleo is kind of in that same camp as well. If you have the proper supports in a co-op battle, and do remember in co-op you can bring one of your people can bring Torchic, so you could actually use Torchic in co-op, although you can't bring it yourself. But if someone else is bringing Torchic and they don't have Solgaleo, they could bring Torchic, which is another upside, a slight upside, I guess, in comparison to the downside. Oh yeah, that's also another downside in single players, because it's also the main character as well, so you can't use Torchic, which is one of the best supports in the game. You can't use Torchic, unfortunately, with Solgaleo. But yeah, if you have someone bringing support, Solgaleo is going to be great. If you don't have people bringing supports, if it's 3 Solgaleos, yikes. That's very yikes. And, again, you're not super effective, obviously. So anyways, again, that's me for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully, this would make sense to folks to not think that Solgaleo is some kind of huge power creep, broken monster, whatever. And again, as I said before, this Solgaleo is not bad. Solgaleo is very, very good. I just think that Solgaleo is a very balanced unit. I don't think it's overpowered. I don't think it's underpowered. I think Solgaleo overall is pretty balanced. It's not insane. It's not like the new Lycanroc, but it's also not. It's not Karen, right? Sorry, Karen, to throw you under a bus. But anyways, again, that's me for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. You can join our Discord if you guys want folks to run co-ops with, or just chat about Pokemon Masters, I guess. And I'll see you guys in the next one.